Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back. Today I'm working on a round swing arm. Now this is for my 1966 Shovelhead, and it needs its bearings replaced. Now there's not a lot of information out there on how to do this. It's pretty straightforward, but I figured a good video on this just to kind of show how this works, how it comes apart, and how it goes together would be helpful for people that are just starting out. Now with this swing arm, I bought a complete replacement kit here. This is an all balls ball bearing replacement kit. It's got the sleeves, the dust covers, the inserts, and everything needed to put this back together. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing and then walk you through the process of rebuilding this so it can be installed on the frame. All right, taking a look at the swing arm here, you can see that there's an outer seal. That's what's holding against the bearing surface to keep dirt and grime out of the bearing. I don't have all of the right tools to do this, but I do have some tools. Most of them are hand tools. I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of how to do this in your own home garage. I do have a seal puller, so I'm thinking I can get underneath there and hook around and work this thing out. This should help me to be able to pull this easily. With the seal removed, we'll be able to take the bearings out, and as you can see, the seal's really gross, and I did mangle the crap out of it getting it out. This thing was really stuck. I'm not sure if this has ever been done. There's our bearing. It kind of rolls. It's super old grease. It's very sticky. It's in bad shape in my opinion, so I don't really love that. This is the reason why I'm replacing these. So then from there, on the inside here, there's a bearing race, and that will have to be pounded out. So I do have a driver here. So I'm going to drive this from the other side. Once I get the other side removed, I need to take the seal out, the bearing out, and then I should be able to push both of the races out from the inside, I believe. That's in theory, I think will work. I do also have the new races for this in the freezer right now, and I'm getting those nice and cold, so once I clean this out, I should be able to drop them right in without having to press them in place. All right, the other side has fought me pretty hard, and I did end up pushing the bearing out from the other side and kind of wrecking everything. Not that I was going to reuse these bearings, they're in really bad shape, but I have not gotten the entire dust shield out yet, so I do need to go ahead and try to pound that out. As you can see, maybe see, it's still in there. The whole race that holds everything in there is stuck, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm trying to hit this from the other side with hopefully this punch here, and maybe it'll come through all the way. Maybe I can drive it out. We're going to give that a shot. Trying to slowly work my way in a circle around this thing. It's starting to come out. You can see the seal is starting to come out here. It's going to take a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to hammer on this thing for a little while just because it is so stuck in there. And there's the rest of that seal. That thing was really in there. Obviously, it needed a hammer and a drift there to get it out. Hopefully, we can repeat the process on the other side and get these races out now. And as you can see, we've got the bearing race out now. We're going to flip this thing over and repeat the process. So I've gone ahead and I've cleaned out the inside of this swing arm because there was way too much grease in there. And what I'm running into is this bearing race on this side. The lip on the inside is so small, so minute, that trying to get on it with anything, and I'm hammering on it with a little guide here, is almost impossible. So I've got a couple other different drifts here. So I'm going to try to see if I can get on it with something else and maybe have any more luck. Like I said, there's not a big lip there. You can see it falls right off. The other side was definitely way more pronounced. This side is not, unfortunately. Got it. That one was kind of a pain. Like I said, this little edge here, there wasn't much to actually get onto, but it is free and it is cleaned out now. So the next step is going to be go ahead and spray this out with a little more parts cleaner, get this thing really cleaned up. I might throw it in the parts wash for a minute here, get the insides real clean because it does have a lot of old heavy grease in it. And obviously I don't want to cross-contaminate things and I don't want to keep that old grease in there. I want to have nice clean surface areas so when I put these new races in, they'll go in nicely. All right, even though this swing arm had old grease in it, it still is a little bit rusty. There was some rust buildup in there and I can feel the inside edges are a little bit rough. So I have some 500 grit sandpaper here and I'm gonna lightly sand this just to kind of get down some of the edge here, just to clean it up a little bit before I finally clean it again with some parts cleaner and then install these races. And I'm not trying to take a lot of material off, I'm just trying to smooth this out. So that's why I'm slowly working my way around and feeling the inside just to make sure that everything is nice. I don't want to make this not round. I know it would take a lot to sand this to make it unround, but you know, if you went at it with maybe a power tool or something, that could be too much. All right, now that I have the swing arm cleaned out, I have my surfaces here sanded and they're smooth. I have my bearing races in the freezer, but I don't have any driver tools. That's the biggest thing I don't have. I don't have any kind of race drivers or seal pullers or any real tools. Those are the things I'm working on getting. But one of the things that you can do is you can use a socket that's about the same size. You want to get it as close as possible to drive the race in. Another thing that you can do that'll be helpful is, remember those old races that we had? Well, they're still good. They can be used. So this, I have taken just a regular grinder and I've gone around and I've surfaced this. I know it's not perfect, doesn't look beautiful or whatnot, but it slides in perfectly. It's nice. So this will help me drive my new seals in. So what I'm going to do now is pull my seals out of the freezer and show you that process. What I'm doing here is I'm bracing the swing arm with a couple of boards. I'm going to take my fresh race here right out of the freezer. I'm going to insert it a little ways. And then what I'm going to do is take a piece of wood and I'm going to gently tap it in place. And I'm going to check it as I go. The biggest thing is you want to keep this as even as possible. And as you can see, the race here is now into the swing arm itself. That's where your new race that you've made comes in handy. So what you'll do is you'll actually set this on top, and then again, you'll take your board, you'll place that on there too, and that gives you a driving surface. And again, we want to try to keep this as even as possible. That's almost all the way in. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that back in place. We're going to use our socket and we're going to hit the socket. Now that we have the one race installed, we'll flip this over and we'll do the process all over again. Again, the race is fresh out of the freezer. It will kind of sort of start to slip in, not completely. You can grease these a little bit too to help guide it. I'm not sure if that's the best practice. I've used that in the past and it's worked, and it's worked against me as well. Again, we'll take our board. Now that we have that race installed and it's square, we'll go ahead and put our old race back on, drive it back in. Now that that's flush, we'll take our socket again, And that race is fully installed as well. Next up is bearing installation. Now these bearings have a little bit of grease on them for transport, but they are not fully greased. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wheel bearing grease here. I like to use this red grease, and we're going to grab a dollop of that with the bearing here itself. I like to push it in from this direction, from the back side here. So you'll grab your dollop of grease, you'll take your hand, and you'll slowly kind of work this in little bits at a time. And you'll repeat the process all the way around until you have grease coming out of the bearings. As you can see, the front side is still dry, so don't have enough grease in it yet. So we'll go around again. I really want that grease to come out both sides, out of the bearing faces themselves and out of the front. Now that the bearing is nice and heavily greased, we're going to go ahead and place it into the swing arm. And it's right where it needs to be. Of course, having some good shop towels around is almost essential. We'll wipe off a little bit of grease so I have one good working hand here. I know my luck, if I don't wipe my hand off, the bearing will go flying on the floor and I'll have a problem on my hands. I'll have to clean this thing. Now with our bearings greased, it's time to install our dust shield. So I'm going to take the dust shield here and I'm going to gently push it in as far as I can get it by hand. I should be able to get it most of the direction, most of the way in. Again, with our block of wood here, we're going to level this out. We're going to hammer it in a little bit. We'll repeat the process on the other side. Now there is a right way and a wrong way to put these in. You can see this is cupped here and it's kind of flat on the outside. This is the outside flat area. This is what should be out of the swing arm or facing out. And this is what should be facing inward. This is to set against the wheel bearing or the swing arm bearing and retain the grease. The last two pieces you'll install will be these swing arm bushings here, and these are what hold everything together and keep the swing arm from shifting back and forth left and right and keep everything tight against the bearings. So we'll install one on each side. They just slip in just like this, and those are installed. Lastly, on the top side of the swing arm here, you'll see there's a grease zert. This will need to be greased. You'll have to actually fill this with grease so that way the swing arm bolt that goes through has something to ride on and keeps everything greasy and then moving. Well friends, that's it for this video. Hopefully this helped you out to figure out how to remove the old swing arm bushings and install a new set. Now this is not an easy process if you don't have the right tools. This thing kind of fought me all along the way with, everything being stuck and old, and obviously these things are in pretty bad shape. They probably have been in there a long time, many, many years. I know that the bike had sat for 30 years before I picked it up, so I can only imagine when this was done last. They are a Timken set of bearings, and I'm not sure if they're stock or if they're replacement ones. I'd have to look the numbers up and check. With the swing arm done, this is one of the next steps in building the frame. So now that I have this finished, I need to get the frame onto the lift here, and I need to start mocking things up. I know I need to put neck cups in, neck bearings. I need to assemble the front end, and I do have wheels for this thing finally. So now that I have those things, I should be able to get this into a rolling configuration pretty quickly. Of course, if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you've done this before and you know some tricks or some ideas that maybe I missed, let me know. If you like the video, drop some comments in the link below so we can talk about it. Of course, if you're interested in subscribing to my channel, I suggest you do that. This 66 is going to start coming together pretty quickly. Once I get this into a roller, then I'll install the transmission. The engine is at the shop still, so I'm waiting for that to be built. The tins go out for the painter to the painter this weekend, so those should be getting ready to be painted. Hopefully I'll have those back mid-July. And if all goes well, I'll get this thing kind of rolling in a positive direction quickly. Well guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.